Dr. Iwowarri Berian James is joining me from Lagos, Nigeria, where he's an international consultant, energy psychologist and therapist, and certified energy healing practitioner recognized by ASAP, or the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology. He is trained in logosynthesis and other energy healing modalities and is a pioneer in the introduction of U.S.-based energy healing models to Nigeria and to the continent of Africa. He met Dr. Willem Lammers and was introduced to logosynthesis many years ago, back in 2008 or thereabouts, and has been following Willem's work and contributing to the logosynthesis community ever since. He is the founding director of Golden Ray's Integrated Energy Therapy Institute and works actively at promoting healing from trauma in his area. Thank you for joining me. I really look forward to this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Cathy. I'm also excited to be with you at this point in time.
Yeah, so to start, can you describe how you were introduced to logosynthesis and what made you curious to explore this model?
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I have been doing energy healing in Nigeria and, in fact, in Africa since 2005. I actually became certified by ASAP in 2009 after 3 years of continuous visit to the US and participating in ASAP conference activities. Since then, I have been coming to the US from up to 2019 because of COVID. We couldn't do 2020, 2021, but in 2022, there was opportunity to come again, but I couldn't make it. But I have been joining via virtual participation. I met in one of these, my visits to the US for ASAP certification process, I met Dr. Willem Lammers, who introduced his great work, Logosynthesis, to me. He gave me a copy of his book. We had a very interesting discussions. He saw what I was doing in Africa, and he was very excited about it. And he introduced Logosynthesis to me. And I will tell you, it's been a wonderful process that I also have been using as part of my integration work in energy healing in Nigeria and in Africa. And I can tell you that it is a very successful process, very effective. And well, as we go along, we'll be sharing experiences of what one has done with logosynthesis and why it is, in my opinion, a very effective modality.
Okay. So before we get into it, I was kind of curious when I read about your previous career. So you worked for 15 years for Nigerian Breweries PLC, a division of Heineken. So that's a very famous brand that many of us internationally will recognize. And you worked as a logistics manager, and then you became a human resources manager for another 2 years. So in one sense, it seems like it's a leap in order to then become the founding director for Golden Ray's Integrated Energy Therapy Institute. Although I also came from a background in the food industry to come to this work. I'm curious if you can tell us about what you learned in your previous career, how that influences your current work.
Yeah, Cathy, actually, I have had multiple exposure in different areas of endeavor. I actually started as a mechanical engineering technologist in a steel plant. I had the opportunity of training in Austria as a mechanical engineer. I then came back and participated in working in the first steel plant in Nigeria. It's called a Midrex steel plant. It's called Delta Steel Alaja. From there, I moved on to, I spent 8.5 years there, working in engineering, pure engineering function. Then I moved on to do industrial engineering work in Nigerian Breweries, a Heineken operating company in Nigeria. It is in this place that I did a couple of trainings. I was in Cranfield University for a supply chain management program in the UK. And after that, I moved on to human resource services. I spent about 15 years in logistics and supply management. Then I moved into human resource services from where I retired. 10 years before my retirement, by the way, my retirement was voluntary retirement because I wanted to focus my energy in promoting energy therapy in Nigeria. 10 years into, before my retirement, I had done a program, managerial psychology. Managerial psychology was a new program from the US, brought into one of the premium universities in Nigeria called University of Ibadan. And the philosophy behind managerial psychology was that we have a lot of resources in Nigeria, but leadership was a challenge, has always been a big challenge. So it was thought that one of the missing components in leadership in Nigeria was the psychological component of leadership, being able to articulate in a conscious way the direction of movement upwards or horizontally, as it were, because a troubled mind will not give an effective decision. So policy making has been an issue, and psychological element in that policy formulation process was considered to be an issue. So the program managerial psychology was now introduced. I happened to be among the first pioneer, that is the pioneer students at my master's degree level to participate in that program. During that program, I had an encounter with post-traumatic stress disorder because I had to do a project on it, and I found that the medical solution or medical position on PTSD is that it has no cure. It has to be managed. All right, so that kept me thinking, because there are quite a good number of people that have this post-traumatic stress disorder. And of course, we had a 3 years civil war between 1967 and 1970. A lot of people came out damaged. A lot of people have deep trauma experiences, even though they didn't know, what they were going through was trauma, as it were. So, but everything that manifested in their lives tended towards what was described in nurse studies that I was doing the master's program as post-traumatic stress disorder. And unfortunately, the medical position is that it doesn't have a cure. So subconsciously, I was looking for a cure for PTSD. So when I got to know about energy healing in 2005, I started with quantum touch, the power to heal. If I tell you the story of how I got into quantum touch, you'll be surprised. At the back of my mind, I was hearing quantum psychology. I didn't know what quantum psychology meant. I think I studied psychology, but I wasn't aware of what quantum psychology was. So I went into the internet and searched for quantum psychology. I didn't see, but I saw quantum touch. So when I saw quantum touch, I immediately embraced it, and I began to study quantum touch. It is a healing method developed by Richard Gordon, an American. So I ordered for the materials, I studied, I became certified in the quantum touch at the advanced level. Then, during one of the discussions in quantum touch class, somebody mentioned EFT, and I jumped at it. I ordered all the materials about emotional freedom technique, all the videos of Gary Craig, all the study materials of Gary Craig. I studied all of them, and then I did the certification exam with Dr. Pat Carrington, the basic certification and advanced certification in the emotional freedom technique. So that's how I got to know about energy psychology. I said, oh, energy psychology, okay. I checked it out and I saw Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology. This was in 2006. I applied to become a member. I got registered. I got accepted and got registered. Then in 2007, I came to the US to start my certification program with ESEP. So in 2009, I got certified. So along the line, I've been doing all kind of training that is available within the field of energy psychology and energy medicine, including doing donor aidings classes in energy medicine. So in all the areas of energy medicine, both the one under Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology and those outside the forum of ESEP, I have studied them. So
You're a very interested learner.
Yes. So when I came back to Nigeria, I said, look, I have to build the capacity in this area, develop people who can also get involved in this process. It has been difficult, but we've been pushing. So I got my institute registered, Golden Race Integrated Energy Therapy Institute, for training and certification. And then a couple of people have come through the institute. We have trained them, and they're not only aware of energy medicine, energy psychology processes, they can also apply the principles in dealing with themselves first before going to treat others. So logosynthesis has also been part of the knowledge that is being shared with these people.
Wow. That's a long journey, but a very valuable one. And I think you make a really good point about the importance of doing your own work first and then being able to share with others. So a training institute is a wonderful initiative. And, when I think of Africa, I often think of Africa in energetic terms, right? Like the vibrancy of the people, the animals, the landscape, and then also the music, the dance, the bright colors. And so there's so much energy, I think, in your country, in the continent, and in the people. And so it seems like a natural fit for me. And so I noticed that recently you attended the USAID or USAID, and it's a United States Agency for International Development, and it was a sponsored conference on resilience, understanding trauma, suicide, and mental health. And I believe you shared your story there. So can you maybe tell me a little bit about this and why it's so important for you to introduce this?
Thank you very much for that question. It's the USAID program is sponsored along with Palladium and a couple of other organizations. And for me, it was a very exciting moment because when many years ago, I brought energy psychology, energy medicine as a solution for psychological and emotional health challenges. There were very few people who could understand, who could relate with why it is important to talk about mental health, emotional health issues. It wasn't a popular topic. So coming many years down the line, I have been an organization that is coming to promote mental health, resilience, and trauma issues. For me, it is a big plus because then it means that the opportunity for bringing solutions to the people is maturing now. So that is the aspect that excited me. And I told the participants there, I demonstrated a couple of techniques for helping to release stress, to expunge trauma from somebody's energy system using very basic methods, which they found very exciting. And they now see me as the key resource person that would be invited into any of their programs. And that is a plus. So I look forward to such opportunities. I look forward to such support from the international community to help people in Africa to grow the awareness in the challenges of mental health and emotional health challenges.
Yeah, and I think you made an important point earlier because you said, a lot of times when you've kind of lived in an environment where there is a lot of trauma, and so if you're living in a country where there was civil war and that is embedded in the psyche of the people, that you don't always recognize that what you're dealing with is trauma. It's just that's everyday life. That's what, the same for all of us, right? That is everyday life. And we don't often come out and say, well, I'm living with trauma. And so, in some sense, we don't want trauma to control our life, but still we have to recognize when it does kind of control our life. So being able to put a language around it and have some recognition as to how our behavior might be impacted by that trauma can be extremely beneficial. And I think always the first step is the recognition. And until we recognize it, it's very hard to introduce solutions. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
logosynthesis is one model for integrated energy therapy. It guides people to work with their suffering or what bothers them by identifying the distressing thoughts, the emotions, and the physical sensations. And then it works to identify and neutralize the underlying mental imagery, those memories, the beliefs, the fantasies. And, one layer at a time, one issue at a time, one memory at a time, it offers lasting and immediate relief so that you're not stuck being hijacked by the same memory every time, right? So what do you notice is different with logosynthesis compared to other models?
Logosynthesis is a powerful modality, very powerful in the way it quickly resolves traumatic experiences. I have used several other modalities. I've done EMDR, I've done talk therapy, I've done some aspects of behavior modification therapy. These are also modalities that use talk as a healing model, as a medium for healing. But they don't address the energetic component that is associated with trauma. And that is the basic difference between what we do in energy psychology, to which logosynthesis belongs as a key modality, and all other modalities. Now, when we are energy, and when we have the capacity to form energy, whether positive or negative. Now, whatever experience that hits us causes us to create these energetic forms. If we are going to address the imbalance and disharmony in our energy system, which is resulting from these forms that we have created, then we must go to that energy, go to that level of energy to resolve it. What talk therapy does is talking to our mind, telling us, okay, change. If we have lost the willpower to change, then we cannot change. No matter how many talks that we give to the individual or how many talks we receive. Now, what logosynthesis as an energetic process does, it goes to the root of that energy, the cause of the problem. What Roger Callahan will call the perturbation in the energy system, in the thought process, and resolve it. Now, when, for example, somebody has an accident, depending on how strong that accident is, there is this dissociation that takes place as a result of perturbation in the energy field. Now, what logosynthesis does is to say, look, bring all these parts together at the energy level. If we don't bring them together and get them integrated, the functionality of the individual will be impaired, and that is certain. So if we map the energy, for example, you will see along the Kundalini line that the chakras are not aligned. So when we bring logosynthesis, which addresses the energy points, the energies of the individual at that level of discomfort, then we are aligning the mind, body, spirit together so that the individual becomes integrated and all the chakras becomes aligned. And that is how whole healing is established.
So, yeah.
This is different from what happens in other modalities.
Yeah, and there's a spiritual foundation to logosynthesis as a model. So I'm curious where you are in Nigeria, in Africa. Does this spiritual element hinder your work? Does it support your work? How does is it an benefit, an issue?
There is a lot of superstition in our environment, in Nigeria, in Africa as a whole. That level of a high level of superstition, there is also on the other side a serious embrace of religiosity. And these are areas that bring dogmas into their belief system. So, and where there is dogma, there's always difficulty in bringing scientifically proven modalities to bear, especially when it is new. And energy psychology, which where logosynthesis also belongs to, supports spirituality as against religiosity. So when we talk about spirituality, not many people can relate to it, except those who are on the path of inner spiritual development. So those people come to a realization that this process is really helpful. And it has nothing to do with religious beliefs. I give an example.
Yeah.
If somebody is always angry and he carries his anger to the church or to the mosque or to his religious circle, he is not making progress until he releases that anger. And if logosynthesis, and it doesn't help to release that anger, it then means that that person is capable now of making better progress in his or her spiritual life. So when posited in this direction, on this perspective, people become open to receiving it. So it's actually a matter of how do you present this modality to people so that they accept or do not accept it, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah, and we eat, that word spirituality, the word religion, all of that has a lot of energy bound just in the word, right? But it is an integral part to healing and to personal growth. And once we embrace that in terms that we're comfortable with, then we can start to peel away or work on the layers where we're blocked with it. Yeah. So when working with logosynthesis, sometimes we might have an issue, like you mentioned earlier, as far as an accident or something where it's one issue and we can resolve the issue with one or two rounds or cycles of the logosynthesis basic procedure. Other issues are more complex when it's dealing with, trauma or belief systems, cultural issues. And yet, if people are committed to doing their inner work, if they're committed to recognizing what's bothering them, where they feel stuck, it also can help them create a path towards a more ease in their life, I guess, right? So do you have any examples of issues where you help people using logosynthesis? Like what types of issues they come to look for support?
Yes, because we are evolving here, it's you can't say exactly directly this is what you have done with logosynthesis at this level, but it is something that I introduce gradually in sessions, and depending on the nature of the challenge, I can say, okay, let us do logosynthesis. I have used the process for somebody who had issues of kidney failure, and it wasn't really kidney failure as it were, but he had multiple layers of traumatic experiences, part of which was responsible for the organ challenge. And when we saw the case, while he was going through his normal medical processes, we also, had to go through the emotional health release, and logosynthesis came in. The beauty of logosynthesis is that it's a very simple process, simple statements, but then the challenge is in coining out, making out the sentences to really address the various layers of the issues that have been identified. And that is where I would say the challenge in quote lies, because you have to get somebody continue to formulate the sentence for the individual. Because a lot of people, until they study the process, they will not go into the cognitive realm of fashioning out sentences. So that is one limitation that I experience in the application of the process. But where I have to do it is usually a wonderful process, because I have to create the words for them to do that. Then also people who have resistance, for a lot of people are small-scale businesses, and they are always looking for ways to improve their business life. A lot of people are stuck. Some in their belief system, which it is inhibiting the progress they're supposed to make in their businesses. So that also is an area where logosynthesis has been applied in the area of manifesting, which is very, very good. We've also done for release of basic health issues like aches and pains. Those ones appear like magic when you use logosynthesis, because logosynthesis operates at the realm of the power of the spoken word. And not only that you are using the power of the spoken word, but you are using the power of the spoken word with deep intention. So we have to get the person to put that intentionality in the process as we are making the affirmation, recovering the splittings, the energy splittings, the fragmented energies in the present or in the past, as it were. So these are the areas where we have had success in applying logosynthesis.
Yeah, so we often talk like painful memories, limiting beliefs, and fantasies about these worst case scenarios, right? So yeah, limiting beliefs can really impede a business. Painful memories, it ends up resulting in a re-experiencing of an issue. And so with that, often that re-experiencing is both the thoughts, the emotions, and the physical sensations. So a lot of times when people are experiencing health-related symptoms, it is that emotional part that they're kind of being activated by a painful memory, right? So.
Yes. I don't know. We also have looked at it from the point of view of past life issues. Use the process to talk about all the splittings of energies that we have anchored in the past life that are now limiting our present life and not allowing us to move forward. These are areas that we have also looked at, and sometimes when you make this statement, it does not take effect immediately because it's energy, but over time, you find that result is being achieved. Mm-hmm. And somebody who doesn't understand what is happening will say, oh, I didn't feel anything. But 1 month down the line, you see a transformation that is taking place. I say, look, when you roll off something from a ground, if something has been on the floor for a long time, on a grassy land, there will be no grass there. But after a long while, nature will now permit rain to touch the ground, air touch the place, the seeds in the ground will begin to germinate. And then if you come back a couple of months after, you will see the green in that place. That is how this energy work, happens. So at the time you are doing it, you are making the affirmation statements, you are the synthesis, retrieving the energy, you are removing all non-me energy. You are retrieving all of my energy from wherever they have been stored. It may not show immediately, but with time, you see that those transformations are now manifested. And that is how it has been with us.
Yeah, and that's very common, isn't it? That because it is energy and it is subtle, for many people, they say, oh, nothing happened, nothing, they might have had a little bit of yawning during the sentences. For other people, it could be a very intense, energetic experience, but they might think nothing happened, and yet the issue falls away. So the person that was bothering them no longer bothers them, but they kind of forget that it ever was an issue. Like I've had people who have had issues with their siblings, and then all of a sudden that sibling doesn't bother them, but they kind of forget that they really did bother them. So it's subtle in that respect. And the other piece is that, it's not doing one cycle of logosynthesis, one round of sentences, and everything is going to shift. To your point, it's paying attention to what's bothering you in your everyday life and almost like making it a routine practice. We often say a toothbrush for the soul. And so once we start to do it with a routine practice, then we can notice the shifts, right? Like you end up kind of tending to that soil so that things can grow and it'll enhance. But it's not a one and done type thing. And sometimes it exposes deeper levels. But the beauty of it is, whether you are working with a guide one-on-one, whether you're working with a guide and doing some self-coaching, you can start to empower yourself in your health. You're not stuck in that feeling of you can't do anything, right? That there's no cure. So there is. Yeah.
Very correct. Very correct.
So do you have a key message or some messages that you would like to leave with people about what logosynthesis and energy healing can offer?
Yes. In fact, anywhere I am in the world, I talk to people about energy psychology, energy medicine. Sometimes when I come to the US, I attend a conference in the resting in Las Vegas, not Las Vegas, in Florida. I will go out to the shops. I say, you know about energy psychology? They said, no, what is that? I said, okay, we're having a conference at Hyatt Hotel. Can you come and listen? So it is my passion to bring the knowledge of energy therapy, energy psychology to people. In Nigeria, I promote energy psychology, logosynthesis, and everything as energy therapy because I didn't want to separate everything individually. So, yes, I tell people, embrace energy therapy, embrace the process. We are energy, and everything that is about us is energetic. The success we achieve in life is a factor of how energetically open and balanced and in harmony we are with ourselves and with our environment. So we cannot do without embracing energy processes. So it is key. So many dysfunctional health challenges that the medical science says they don't have cure. It's not that they don't have cure because they have not discovered that some of those challenges are rooted in the energy system, dysfunctional energy system of the individual. And therefore, they have cure because we have energy healing now. What they need to do is to open up their mind and open up the scope of practice to embrace all these other modalities that support the healing of the human person. And the human person is body, mind, and spirit. So we must to heal at that level, integrated and functional. So another message is those who are outside Africa, who love Africa, who want to see Africa progress and prosper, need to come and support what we are doing with energy therapy in Africa, in Nigeria, in Africa. I have been to Rwanda, I've been to the Cameroon. The African continent is bedeviled with strife, with wars, past and present, with dysfunctions. We are talking about Boko Haram, we're talking about terrorism, we're talking about banditry, we're talking about social dislocation is happening. And these are affecting human beings on daily basis. The only thing that can help in bringing about human integration at the energy level is energy therapy, energy psychology, energy medicine that has logosynthesis as a principal component in it. So I want to welcome anybody who will want to share in the responsibility of promoting this healing modality in Africa.
So what is the biggest barrier you come across when you're promoting energy therapy in Africa?
The biggest barrier, it is not, surprisingly, it's not in the resistance of the people, but in the funding that we are not able to generate. I will tell you for sure that in the past many years that I have promoted energy therapy in Africa, I have used my resources completely. Because I did a good job. I worked in an international company, Heineken International, and I had good resources, but I applied these resources in promoting this new knowledge because I know that it is a beneficial knowledge. It is knowledge that is liberating, that when people come and get therapy, I have had people, people who have attempted suicide and they come and they get released that trauma of their suicide attempt. I've had people who rape experiences, rape victims, to release the trauma of the rape and multiple consequences of the rape experience. I've had people with domestic abuse issues, to release the trauma of the domestic abuse. These are human beings that ordinarily would have gone down the drain, but they are now having a new lease of life, and they are very, very happy. We want to take energy therapy to schools under a program called Energy Therapy to School program. It needs funding. We want to take energy therapy to communities, rural communities that cannot pay for normal consultation services, so that they also have opportunity of embracing and using energy therapy as first aid tools in their life. When people have physical injury, they have medical facilities they go to for first aid. But when they have trauma experiences, there is no trauma first aid. So what we are doing is developing curriculum, developing materials, going into nooks and crannies and teaching them how to handle trauma issues when they come at first instance, so that it doesn't dwell and grow and become post-traumatic stress disorder in their system, because that is a lot more difficult to treat than the first instance trauma that they have encountered.
Yeah, for me, I like promoting logosynthesis as an everyday healthy lifestyle practice, right? And so to your point, if we can educate so that people know that, we all experience trauma. We all experience events in our life that have an impact. So it's not, the sick people and the healthy people. We're all human beings and we all have experiences that are traumatic, whether we will label it as such or not. And so to me, to be able to recognize when we're experiencing stressful reactions, the anger, the fear, the worry, the panic, especially when things happen in our life, and we can use our resources to shift that energy so that it isn't stuck in our system. I think that's extremely powerful. And it's, I guess, we see it here in Canada, and we probably have the same challenges in a lot of ways. I don't think we have the same level of traumas, but I think we do have, the same challenges in a lot of ways. And I think between, and that's what I love with the international community, the logosynthesis community, is that everybody has a role in it, and together you can see people start to make influence. And one of the big things is we're starting to see research being published, and Malu out of the Philippines and Natasha out of the States have published research, and so that's an exciting step that will take us places, I think. So yeah, maybe Africa will be next. So I understand that you recently had the chance to be a first reader for Willem Lammers and Raya Williams' upcoming book that is going to be launched on Shaping Reality. I'm wondering if you can give us a couple of words of what you took away from the book and what you thought.
Yes, I actually shared my views with Willem. I told him that I find the book very readable and enjoyable. As well, it was a very well thought out book and very well put together. It is a book that I will recommend to my colleagues and friends, as it were, and it offers protocols that get the individual to look at himself or herself with a view to identifying what is possible, what is possible for clearing and having the modality that gives him the strength to clear the challenge. The book, however, assumed an existing background in energy healing, in logosynthesis. So it's not a generic book for just anybody, because you have to have gotten some grounding in energy healing before you can appreciate the depth of that book. It's actually a masterpiece, something in the class of the Jungian, text of those times. So you really have to be open, you have to be deep in the thought process to be able to appreciate what Willem has given and his co-author have given in that book. So it's a book I recommend to our colleagues who, even if you are not a logosynthesis person, you read it. I try to use the method myself, and I shared my experience with Willem. One of my clients that I used the method, initially was not able to transcend the I am energy to get into the point of acceptance. When I said I am complete, he said, no, I am not complete. I said, we did the process. We now say, okay, I am complete. He said, yes, I think I am the process of being complete. So we did things again. Something again shifted. He said, yes, I am complete. So the transformation, you can see within a space of time, somebody moving from I am not able, I am not complete, to yes, I am complete. And in between, you have the steps that the journey the person made. For some people, that journey can be a 1 year journey. It can be several sessions journey. But for some, it will, it could be a few hours journey or a few minutes journey, depending on how the individual, how blocked the individual has been. So it is a very powerful protocol, conveyed in a very powerful book that I can recommend to anybody.
Wow. Wow, I haven't read the book, although I did the protocol to offer an example of using it in the book. And so I am familiar with the protocol, and I have used it, as you mentioned, it's a number of times, and you can use it as many times. And it's a bit of a journey, right? That it doesn't happen overnight, but it's a journey and a progression. So I'm interested to read it, but from my experience, it is a very powerful and intriguing one. So thank you very much for this interview. I'm wondering if you have one final word and if you can tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Thank you very much. I'm also happy to have joined you in this interview. I am located in Lagos and I also have office in Abuja. I am available on social media. My Facebook. I'm very active on Facebook. So anybody who wants me can, catch me on Facebook. Iwowarri Berian James. Facebook Messenger I'm also on it. I am on Twitter as Energy Doctor on Twitter, and I am also on WhatsApp. My numbers on WhatsApp +234 803 722 7334. So that's my WhatsApp number. Anybody who wants to reach me, easy to. My email address is ib56@yahoo.com. I want to take that again. ibjames56@yahoo.com.
Okay, I will put that information in the link as well so that people can get that and get in touch with you. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.